Jeff Luff here from Alternative Heating and Supplies. In our neck of the woods, it is springtime, and we are just finishing up our heating for the winter. And it's a good time for me because I get pretty tired of loading the stove once a day and dealing with that. So it's a time for me to clean up my stove and get it ready for the next heating season. So I like to do it in the spring. Some people do in the fall. It doesn't really matter. I like to do it in the spring to get it so I know that it's done and ready for me for the next season. So the first thing I'm going to do is a CF205. Now what this is a flush. So what I do is I pour this into my unit and I add also 3 gallons of white vinegar. Now I do that because this is pricey comparison, so you can add multiples of these, but white vinegar is very inexpensive and it works with this product to help clean it more intensely. So you can add 1 gallon of white vinegar or 2 or 3. I use 3 because that's the hardest and the deepest clean you can get. So I pour this in, a couple gallons of white vinegar. I put it in there for about 8 hours with the circulator pumping to get it through the whole system, cleaning out the heat exchangers and also the pumps. And then after 8 hours, I drain it completely. After I drain it, I add a little bit more water and fill it back up all the way to the top and circulate it again. At that time, it is so diluted that it's not really having any effect on cleaning at this point because it's so diluted. Now in my case, my boiler has several hundred gallons of water, so it doesn't have any effect. Next, you're gonna add your boiler treatment. You need to do this as well because now the pH is not set, and also you have nothing protecting the steel that's in the unit, in the pumps, and in the heat exchangers. So there's 2 products that I manufacture, and the reason I manufacture them is because the manufacturers who do produce the same product, their products were getting up to $80 to $100 a gallon. As you can see by my prices, are nowhere near that. And actually my products are actually considerably better. So the Amtech 300 has 2 levels of protection. That's what the manufacturers are selling you for $80 to $100 a bottle. This has 2 levels, which is the same as the manufacturers, and it is excellent product. Now, some people like myself, I like to take care of everything really good. So I produce the ProTech 300. Now that has 3 levels of protection. It uses different forms of protection to prevent scale and rust. So I use this. It also has a dye in there, so it's easy to see that did I add it or did I not. You'll be able to add some water and you'll see that it has a pink color to it. So the ProTech is an excellent product for that. So that is for a stronger protection. This is excellent protection, but this is really good. The next thing I'm going to do, in my case, I used the Woodmaster boilers, and a lot of the boilers use the same kind of systems as they might have a fan cover. This is what stops the air from getting into the boiler and letting the boiler run an overheat. So everybody says my flapper it's in good shape. It's not torn, it's not ripped, it looks good. The problem is that when the flapper, if it's more than a couple years old, it doesn't seat perfectly on the fan. And when it doesn't do that, it lets air in, and that's when you get overheating and those kind of problems, which can create a lot of problems in your wiring and everything else. That's why we recommend changing these at least once every 2 years. I do mine yearly because, again, it's just one less thing I got to deal with. Another and very important thing is the RTV silicone. This is another thing I do annually. So first I get my fire rope on my door, and we sell these kits in 8, 7, 9, all different variations, so measure your door. We have different thicknesses. The Woodmaster uses a 1 inch, and you get the amount you need. And then what I do is I pull out the old rope, scrape, make clean, and then pick a small bead and mount the fire rope, okay? And you don't want to pull the fire rope taut, you want it nice and fat, and so it makes a nice seal on the door. Again, the thing that we're afraid of is air in our systems. That's why the fan cover and the fire rope are so important. So once you use that to seal the fire rope, then the very important other thing is, it happens a lot too with these outdoor wood boilers, is the chimney that usually comes through the roof of the wood boiler. You need to put a bead of this silicone to prevent the water from dripping down from rain, from dripping down the chimney, getting past that seal, getting into the top of the wood boiler, and eventually, because it picks up the creosote from the chimney and the stuff, and it becomes an acid. So it literally rots the chimney right off your wood boiler. And I've seen that a lot, but this, by a simple application of this, putting a fresh bead every year, you will prevent that, and that is a big job. You're gonna have to call a welder, and that is not a fun deal. The last part I do is I do Anti-Creo-Soot. So what I do is I clean out my wood boiler, pull out the ash, I spray this with the around the door and any other areas where there's a lot of it, and it's actually kind of fun to watch because you spray it and you hear it cracking. And the creosote literally, which is a waxy, kind of oily look to it, it basically turns to dust. It becomes subdued, or it just turns into a thing, and you'll be able to scrape and clean it if you want. This is not absolutely essential, but I do it just to get it clean and get it done. The other thing I do is I clean the outside of my wood boiler, and that's real simple, just a hose, and I use Purple Power. You can pick this up at any automotive place. I used to sell it, but by the time you get it and the shipping of it, I'm not cost competitive with you just going to AutoZone and picking up, or Walmart or any of these other plants. It's Purple Power. It's an excellent product. Very strong, and it cleans up the black and the dust right off your stove like nothing. So again, I hope that helps. And oh, one more thing. These are the test kits that work for either one of these. So if you want to test, but if you're replacing it every year or every other year, it's not necessary to test, but some people like to test. So we sell the test kits as well. I hope that is helpful for you in your spring or fall cleanup and get ready for the next season. I hope this helped. Thank you for your time.